0.
We are
Hello,
live.
Steve.
Hello, Podfeet.
Time to kill your audio in Discord.
You too. No
Oh,
offense.
Richard from Alaska's here.
Oh, I remember old Richard. Yeah, welcome back, Richard.
All right, it is. Should we start roll call right off the bat?
Sure. Let's get
I see
this party started.
Brett and Jason and Steven, Marty and Rick and Sandy, and let's see who's that in the right-hand side there. Jill is in here, and John, maybe not John, but John is there, and Rose and Richard from Alaska. Rick is there again, and Frank. Is Zoe there bringing the bacon? No, she's asleep. Were we supposed to dress up? I put on makeup just for this show. It's the only thing I put on makeup for. Actually, maybe Daily Tech News show too. That's about it. So I've got to show you guys something. Steve wants me to do a blog post about it. He thinks it was funny. Steve was looking a little shaggy.
Yeah.
So I started to cut his hair. And he was not saying things I wanted him to say when I was cutting his hair. So I started cutting his hair and I walked away. And 2 days later, I handed him these rules and told him I would cut his hair if he would agree to these rules.
Let me blow that up.
So,
and I will
the rules say, don't say you're not. That's not how Roxy does it, or don't. But you can say things like, can I make a suggestion? Would it help if? Do you want to try? And finally, when I was finished, I wanted to hear the words, I know you did your best. You'll get the hang of it. And where's my hat?
And I have to say, I did not even feel compelled to wear a hat when you were done.
Yeah, show off your hair. Looks amazing. Is that you letting it blow in the wind?
Yeah. Yes, luxurious locks flowing in the wind. What hair? Thanks, Sandy.
Oh, that's mean. He said he wanted it short.
Yeah, this is my summer cut.
Yep, he always goes short in the summer, and he has trouble getting Roxy to do it short enough. So
we're super short.
All right, I am going to do a test.
Several people asked me about giving a tip, but what kind of percentage tip do you give on a haircut that's $0? I mean, 15%?
Infinite. Now, there may come a time where I let Steve cut my hair, but that time is not yet. $100, Sandy says.
I very much think that I should return the favor.
You've never cut anyone's hair in your life. I cut Forbes's hair. I cut Kyle's hair.
Well, there's always a first.
We'll see. Yeah, I want to be your guinea pig, dear. All right, let me do a test recording here. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, April 19th, 2020. This is show number 780.
Wow.
Let's see how that sounds.
That's quite an intro.
Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, April 19th, 2020. This is show number 780. I should save that.
That's intense.
That was a good one.
Those poor people that are listening at three times speed.
Yeah, really. Oh, I have a little. I guys remember this? I played this for you guys a while ago. Blinky blink. Right?
Oh yeah.
I got another one. Hang on. Come on, stop. Right here. I have another one. I put in to save. Yay!
Yay!
Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
Yay! You talked over it. Let me do it again. Yay!
We could never have. We had to build a whole library of Bart snippets.
Well, that requires me to keep them all.
I could go back into your prior podcasts and grab a few.
Your archives and get the funny things he says. Just go listen to a couple thousand hours of audio and come back to us. Right? Kevin made it in?
Finally.
All right.
Welcome, Kevin.
Oh, and Michael Westbase is here. My buddy Michael. Me and Michael, we talk all the time now.
You didn't hear anything, Sandy? You didn't hear yay?
Oh, okay. So that means I don't have my audio set right in Discord. Yes, you were supposed to be hearing something. We were just enjoying that by ourselves. Hang on. That means this is set. I have two different settings depending on which show I'm doing. Okay, so they missed. So what I said was, you guys remember this? Blinky blink. There you go. Oh, you could hear it on YouTube. That's right. And this is the new one. Yay. Isn't that cute?
You did hear that, evidently. Good.
They did now, yeah, because I have my settings set wrong.
Good.
Yay.
Does Bart know you do this?
I think he knew I saved the Plinky Plinks, but I just found this one was after I finished recording. He hit stop just a little bit later, and he had just said "yay" at the end, so cool. It was fun. All right, well that means we don't know whether they heard playback. Can you guys hear the music? Okay.
Good.
All right, I think we're ready.
Okay.
And I'm going to need you to mute yourself.
Muting.
Because I have not heard back from Boinks yet. I asked them about that little problem that I can't mute you. All right, here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, April 19th, 2020, and this is show number 780. Well, because he absolutely hates it when I do this, I'm going to say happy birthday to my husband, Steve. He has a birthday coming up tomorrow, and I wish him all the best. But before I get started into the show, I need to make a correction on the pricing of the Kubo AI camera I reviewed last week. I told you it was normally $300 and was $50 off, so it was down to $250. When the lovely folks at Kubo saw my article, they explained that the Amazon price of $250 was before the $50 off coupon. So this fabulous AI camera set up with 3 different hardware configurations is $200, not $250. Well, this week's episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond was of the programming by stealth variety. I know I've been saying that this a lot lately, but it was a spectacularly fun episode. In the early days of programming by stealth, Bart tried to explain JavaScript classes, objects, and instances. He talked about it in installment 17 before ES6 came out, and then he took another run at it in installments 27 through 31. But it never felt to Bart like he had explained it in a way that made it clear, and I came away thinking I was really dumb because I could not figure it out. I would get brief pieces of it that seemed to make sense, but it just didn't stick. It didn't make any sense to me. And it's kind of part of the fundamentals of object-oriented programming, so it's a pretty important concept. Well, in this most recent episode, in installment 94, Bart finally nails it. I told him the show notes for this installment might be the best he's ever done. Everything he explains is clear and concise. The examples are superb, and we get to say Huniaker a lot, so that's fun. Instead of being frustrated and confused, I was smiling through this episode because I finally get it. I also told him that I feel far less stupid than I did before because I always thought it was my failing that I didn't get it. I enjoyed this so much, I drew Bart a picture of what he had taught me, and he said I nailed it. As always, you can listen to your podcatcher of choice by searching for Programming by Stealth, or you can listen at podfeet.com. And of course, make sure to read along with Bart's spectacular tutorial show notes over at pbs.bartificer.net. There we go. Hi, Steve. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Allison. You always make me feel weird because you're wishing me a happy birthday and I'm muted, so I can't do it back.
Yeah.
During the podcast.
Would you like to come in here and record saying happy birthday? See, you don't really mean it.
Well, I could just say it.
Well, thank you, Jill. And John.
Haircut completely.
And Sandy. It is so crazy that Sandy's daughter's name is Allison and has a birthday on April 20th. That's crazy.
Good. Nice haircut there, Wingman. It almost looks like that background behind you is part of your hair. That's a lot of hair.
Thank you to everybody. All right. All the best. This is your birthday song. It doesn't last too long. But before I get started into the show, I want to start right there, and that's what I'm going to put chit chat. I never know whether to put. Let's see. I'll do. Okay, wrong. I'll do that. There we go. All right. Well, I think it's time to hear from Jill.
Let's hear from
Shall
Jill.
we?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, Jill rocks.
We're going to put you on the spot,
Actually,
Jill.
I'm not. Wait. Oh, that's weird. That's interesting. I labeled the folder Denise, and I knew exactly who it was. Went, yep, gonna
Jill
go to
saying,
Denise.
who? Jill who?
All right. She did too, so I gotta remember to do it. I get a second one. Gotta love that. Jill? Yeah, Jill, give me two.
And you're doing one tonight.
Yeah, one tonight, and I will save.
We got to spread her out.
Week. And copy that link like an animal and paste it again. All right. I'm going to play it. s.bartificer.net.
Hello, it's Jill from the North Woods. It's time to watch TV and movies. When I had a DVR, I would keep track of shows and movies I wanted to see by recording them. It's been 3 years since I canceled cable and moved to streaming everything. I'm not talented enough to write my own database, so I use 2 apps to keep my queue in order. The first is called Television Time. It provides a list of all shows available and allows you to add them to your queue as a series. It gives you a small description of the show and indicates which networks they air. There are some minor details about the cast and other similar shows. There are links for reviews. As you watch an episode, you check it off the list. The list syncs on iCloud or Tracked if you're using multiple devices. You can sort the queue by episode count, air date,
no audio
the shows
on
you
Discord.
last watched. In the other tab,
what?
No audio on Discord.
What? Well, I didn't change anything.
Well, we'll have to do another test. Wait, now Discord audio is back. Well, it may be the playback you're not hearing, but you're hearing Allison's voice through the mic.
Oh, but
do a quick playback again. Tell us if you hear this playback, folks.
Hang on. Record Alice mic. Playback should be there. And loop back. I mean, I don't have any idea how that would
Just
go
give
away.
it another try.
So you guys haven't heard any of Jill?
Oh, you heard playback and then it stopped. Interesting.
It was continuous on YouTube.
Huh.
So I can't be in control of that. So where did I lose you guys? Erase the wrong one. What? Came back when I did. Okay. I don't know where to start. Okay. I will go here.
It provides a list of all shows.
Okay.
Let's you guys hearing that?
It's been 3 years since I canceled cable and moved to streaming everything. I'm not talented enough to write my own database, so I use 2 apps to keep my queue in order. The first is called Television Time. It provides a list of all shows available and allows you to add them to your queue as a series. It gives you a small description of the show and indicates which networks they air. There are some minor details about the cast and other similar shows. There are links for reviews. As you watch an episode, you check it off the list. The list syncs on iCloud or Tracked if you're using multiple devices. You can sort the queue by episode count, air date, the shows you last watched. In the other tab, you can watch shows and how many days until they air again. The shows are coming back but have no air date are marked as returning or ended. It's fun to see what's coming soon. For upcoming shows, I can sort by network, alphabetical order, air date, and last watched. To keep the cost of streaming low, I cancel networks when I have no pending shows. I use the network sort to know which streaming services to keep or to give up. There is a search and a list of popular, trending, and anticipated shows. There's also a few stats. It doesn't have a social media aspect to it where I can see the other users' reviews. I'm not really looking for that either. I like it because it's simple. The only downside I've seen with the app is the confusion when a show is from another country. It displays that the show is available, but it's not available in my country. Also, if a show comes from a network that is still on television, but later appears on streaming networks, you can't find the show by that streaming network. It doesn't have a strong set of reviews, as some of the other apps do, because of the missing features and the missing social aspect. But it works well as my TV queue. It is only on iOS and costs $3. TelevisionTime.app, you'll find more information about it. The second app is Just Watch. This is more focused on movies and streaming shows. The primary function is to create an account and a watch list, and you indicate what streaming services you have. There are some nice options to split services like Amazon Prime from Amazon Video, which may require a payment. The level of detail is nice. You can filter the watch list by streaming services. It shows some basic information from their database and from Rotten Tomatoes and Internet Movie Database. You can also see what's popular on the app from other users. It also tries to guess what you'll like based on what you liked in the past. You can also see what's new to the streaming services. You can watch trailers for movies. It has a lot of filters. If you want to find movies that are free or well rated, or dozens of other filters like category, it's very easy to do. I don't really use the show for TV shows because you can mark an entire season on your watch list, but you don't really check off individual episodes. If a show is airing on a network, there's no indicator where that show came from, so I can only find it on streaming services. In the end, I find it great for movies and clunky for series. It is available on iOS and Android and is free. There is also a Fire TV app. If you load the app on your device, you can connect it to your account or use it as a standalone app. It will show you your watch list or look through the services you have and find shows to watch. And if you select something, it will open it up in the right app on the Fire Stick. That's pretty fantastic. They have a website you can use instead of the app. Find out more at justwatch.com. The third app I tinker with, but I don't really use on a regular basis. It's called TV Time, which is a bit confusing with television time. It does both movies and series. It helps you find new shows. It lets you check off episodes of shows and movies you watch. It has a fun social aspect with comments, reviews, and the ability to follow other users. It really is fun. It shows you memes from the shows and comments about the movies and episodes. The community is active. It has a nice calendar layout, but it doesn't really have many filters or sorts. I just look at it when I'm looking for new shows or I thought something was really interesting and I wanted to see what other people thought of it. It is a website and also has an iOS and Android app for free. Check it out at tvtime.com for more details. In the end, I'm very happy with the two apps I have. I could see people wanting the ability to watch shows and movies as a family. Each person in the family can have their own app with their own lists, but having something that would keep track of the shows together for a family would be nice. None of these apps do that. But for me alone, it works out really well. I hope this helps you to watch and enjoy TV, series, and movies.
All
Very
right.
well done. Good job,
Believe
Jill.
it or not, I am now going to delete that.
What? What?
You'll see why in just a second. Because I forgot. I actually recorded 2 Chit Chat Across the Ponds this week. And I just remembered
boy.
while she was doing it. So I'm going to put that back into place. So what you guys need to help me remember is to set a second to move the chapter marker for Jill, because I already put the chapter marker in, but I'm gonna have to put it back in its correct place in a minute.
Oh, so you're going to include it just later in the show.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
teasing that. Okay, so I need. Let's see. that. And the blog post is, yeah, I don't know why I did this. I could have saved it for next week and then I wouldn't have to find another guest, but I just did 2 in a row. I just posted it and then went, oh, okay. Well, sometimes I don't do one, so that's good, right?
Yes.
All right.
So-
and now if you would mute my dear.
So what are you putting in now? Has the show?
I'm just gonna talk for a minute. Just
okay.
hang on. You could look for that picture of Micah Sargent on this link. There's a good picture of Micah there. It's pretty funny. Okay. Well, I did something really crazy this week. I recorded not 1, but 2 Chit Chat Across the Ponds. I also recorded a Chit Chat Across the Pond Light with Micah Sargent of the Clockwise Podcast and the Twit Network. A while ago, Micah was talking on some show somewhere about how much he loves Text Expander, and I thought it might be fun to have a session where we talked about our favorite Text Expander snippets. We found that we actually use the same Text Expander trigger character, but in different ways. We discussed our most used snippets and why. Micah told me about some very cool Text Expander snippets Brett Terpstra has shared with the world at brettterpstra.com. We talked about how cool we think the public group snippets are that you can download from app.textexpander.com. We talked about Micah's favorite accented words like voila and the emoji cheat sheet so he can type poop with a Text Expander snippet, and also symbols like the shift key, and also he uses text utilities that he's also downloaded a snippet library for. Anyway, we even covered nested snippets and the problems those solve. Go check this episode out in your podcatcher of choice by searching for Chit Chat Across the Pond Light. And of course, you can always listen over at podfeed.com and look for the episode with Micah Sargent on his favorite Text Expander snippets. Okay. Did that work? Isn't that a great picture?
Yeah.
So we were talking about the shrug emoji.
Oh, and he was acting it out.
Yes. If you look closely, so am I.
Where? Oh, up in the upper right. There you are.
Isn't that cute? We thought we were
Yes.
adorable.
Multiple shrugs.
That was a good trick to take a screen snapshot while shrugging. But you can do it because there's timed snapshots in there. Okay, so now I'm going to move Jill to the end there. Jill. Yes. And now I got to go back and get Jill's recording again. And hopefully it'll be the right one, TV tracking, and this will be her WAV file. I'll drop it in again, and let's make sure that transition works. Favorite Text Expander snippets.
Hello.
Hello. All right. Now I can get back onto the schedule here. All right. Oh, no, I want to talk. I'm going to talk some before I do a chapter mark. Hang on, Kevin. Hold your shorts.
Enjoy TV, series, and movies.
You know what? I love Jill's reviews. She's got the perfect combination of the problem to be solved, very specific details without droning on, and a light touch of humor throughout. I do need to make one tiny correction, though. The price of television time, the first iOS app she described, is $5 in the App Store, not $3. I think it changed since she set it up. Anyway, that's the app I think I'm going to buy to see if it's better than Steve and my Airtable database. But I got to tell you, that's going to be hard to beat because we sure love it. There we go. Hello. Oh, I like it. Anybody else snuck in? Oh, Mike snuck in.
Jason just put a pretty good GIF in.
Jason did? Oh, before the hello?
The two, actually, Marty's followed up with one too.
Oh.
Hello.
That's exactly how she said it. Hello. Actually, he said it, right? All right.
So Mike joined us, by the way. Mike LaPlante.
Yes, I started to say hi, Mike. Did I say it out loud or just think it?
He said hi, Allison, so maybe he was just responding to you. Oh, my life.
No, but I think I said hi. Okay, preview. All right. Oh, I haven't turned off notifications. And it won't matter. Won't matter. Are you
Not-
breathing into your mic again?
Yes.
I love it when you do that.
Let's bring it down.
Let's see. Oh. Well, just don't breathe into the mic.
I have to breathe.
Yeah, but not into the mic.
Well, I moved
Put
it.
it
We're
below
good.
your nose.
That's what
See
I
where
just
mine
did.
is?
I did.
Oh, I thought you meant bring down the input.
No, I bring down the mic. I just brought it down.
Thinking, Steve, just move the mic.
Physically
Okay,
bring it down.
All right. Copy link. Okay, now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put that in. Time is weird. I wasn't sure if I should call this time is weird or time zone is weird. Time zones are weird. I don't know. Okay, this will be a long one, so sit back and enjoy yourselves. Do something else to keep you entertained. But here it comes. This is 3,233 words about time zones.
Woo!
And then there's a supplemental after that. All right. But it's okay because it's Alistair. I have never been good at time zones, probably because of my poor arithmetic skills caused by new math in the 1960s. There's an 8 involved in a subtraction situation like GMT minus 8, then I am doomed. Turns out Bart and I are 8 hours apart in time zones, so that's swell. Well, I also have a lot of trouble with things like daylight saving time. Just the phrase, people say, oh, it's easy, spring forward, fall back. It baffles me. I get all tangled up on whether I'm moving forward in time or is the clock moving forward, or maybe it's both and one's in one direction. I don't know. It got even more complicated when the US decided, in their infinite wisdom, to change to and from daylight saving time at a different time than the rest of the world. So that means Bart and I are 8 hours apart, then 7 for a while, then back to 8, and then 7 again, and then back to 8. It absolutely drives me bananas. And don't even get me started with New Zealand. Since they're in the southern hemisphere, they go into summer at the opposite time, so we swing wildly apart and closer together by multiple hours. Trying to figure out if Marianne or Alistair are awake or if it's possibly the following Tuesday is impossible. I have been complaining on the NosillaCast about time zones since August of 2009 in episode number 219. So, it's all the rage to talk about time using GMT or UTC, but I find even that confusing. Did you know that Greenwich, after which Greenwich Mean Time, GMT, is named, does not stay at GMT 0 during daylight saving time? My buddy Ron had been to Greenwich, and when I told him that, he did not believe me. He lost his mind when he found out I was right. It's not that GMT itself changes, it's that Britain changes to some goofy thing called British Summertime. And then there's Coordinated Universal Time, which is for some reason abbreviated UTC. They really do hate us, don't they? Why do we have GMT and UTC? What is the difference between the two? According to worldtimeserver.com, it says, and I quote, in short, GMT is an actual time zone, whereas UTC is a time standard that is used to keep time synchronized across the world. So UTC is an absolute reference point to keep all clocks in sync. Then why do people give their time zones in UTC if it's not for time zones? Maybe because you can refer to your time zone as an offset from UTC? Well, perhaps this explanation from Wikipedia would clarify things. They say the time zone using UTC is sometimes denoted UTC plus or minus 00:00 or by the letter Z, a reference to the equivalent nautical time zone, GMT, which has been denoted by a Z since about 1950. Okay, that really helped. Anyway, I will from this day forward refuse to ever use UTC as a time zone, just to avoid some nerd saying to me, well, actually, UTC means coordinated universal time. Anyway, moving on. Why am I bringing all of this up right now and repeating a lot of what I said in 2009? Because our latest assignment in Programming by Stealth is to create a web app for a clock that shows the local time as well as in a time zone of the user's choosing. I talked about my early success for this assignment in my recent article, Programming is My Happy Place. Believe it or not, creating the local time was pretty darn easy. Turns out that people write libraries that you just point to in your code and they give you superpowers. The one we're using is called moment.js from momentjs.com. Once you've got it slapped into your code, you can do all kinds of fun stuff with times. It's also a really fun assignment because Bart lets us be completely creative in designing our own interface. Pretty quickly and without bothering Dorothy at all this time, I was able to get the user's local time, and it was nice and pretty. Phase two was to add some checkboxes so the user could choose whether to show seconds or not and whether to show a 24 or 12-hour clock. That was a little more challenging, but I got that done on my own too. But then it came time to design the interface to allow the viewer to change time zones. I decided to create a nice little drop down menu to scroll through to pick the time zone. And this is when things started to get interesting. And by that, I mean in the Chinese proverb, maybe you have interesting times kind of way. All right, using this swell library I mentioned before, moment.js, there's a companion library called timezones.js. This library is really cool. You can easily change the time to and from a different time zone, find times in the past and future, and I think you can find time on like other planets. I mean, it does all kinds of things. I do get kind of lost on how many things it can do, but I only needed a simple drop down list of cities. And then when you pick a city, it would do the magic time zone math in the background, and I wouldn't have to do anything but spit it out back on screen and not worry my pretty little head about it. Sounded easy enough. Well, the fine folks who wrote timezones.js have instructions on how to get a list of cities and countries, or cities/countries, I should say, that are supported. I only have to type moment.tz.names, and it spits out the list. Easy peasy. But there's a problem. It spit out 493 cities. Can you imagine how annoying that drop down menu would be? I bet you can't, because it's worse than you can imagine. Way worse. The city names are listed by continent and then city. For example, every city that is in North or South America is pre-labeled with America. So I guess it's not even continent, it's two continents in that case. So as you're scrolling through the Americas, Bogota is right next to Boise. Chicago is next to Chihuahua. I know that makes sense alphabetically, but if you're looking for Bogota, is that where you would expect to find it? The good news is that Bart taught us to use regular expressions, so I could strip out the continent and only have the city names, and I could alphabetize them properly. But you'd still have 493 names to go through, and that would kind of be nonsense, because what if the name you're looking for isn't there? There isn't anything near it alphabetically that would be in the same time zone. Now, I'm not the only one who's ever tried to solve this problem, so certainly someone has a nicer list that I can plop into my drop down menu. All I needed to do was search the internet for a nice visual listing that made sense to the user, and then all I would need to do is map it to the time zones my library understood. I spent 4 days looking for such a list. I really wanted to get programming, but I needed a nice list first. At one point, I got desperate and I brought up one of those maps that shows the time zones in bands and then little red dots for cities you could tap on within a time zone. I probably spent an hour trying to find one recognizable city name in each time zone while also not picking just the big countries. I didn't want all US cities for the a half dozen time zones that we have. That would be nice. It took me a while to realize that this was not going to end in a good list, as in many cases, I couldn't even find a city in certain time zones. Finally, I found a list that was way better than the 493 oddly sorted continent/city names. I found a list of only 424 city names, but at least they were sorted by country. All of the US was next to each other under the two-character code US. All of Africa was under ZW because that makes sense. And but at least it was sorted that way. It wasn't ideal, but at least it made sense. I gleefully coded it up, and when it was morning in Japan, I excitedly sent it to Kaylee. While she didn't technically call it horse poop, she was not at all impressed. She did not like that list. Later in the day, when Helm in the Netherlands woke up, I got the same reaction. I was crestfallen. I was so proud of my work. Of course, they were right. It was still ugly and unintuitive. Now, Helma's a crazy good programmer, and she helpfully suggested, she said, just let people type in the name of a city, then you look it up in the background by latitude and longitude, figure out if it's summer or winter there, and then calculate the time. Yeah, I was totally not going to do that. The error checking alone on people's spellings of typing things in or duplicates, that would have killed me. Well, Kaylee did some searching online for a better list, and she actually found one that worked. It was released as open source on GitHub by someone who goes by the name NodeSocket. Here's what was good about the NodeSocket list. It had the name of the time zone, such as GMT -3, followed by a handful of city names from that zone. And it was even sorted by time zone name. Stopping for a second to save. I'm on fire. I'm enjoying telling this story. Did I miss anything?
Keep it going.
Oh, you're dropping the
don't take
pictures
a-
in as I go?
Yeah, I even dropped in your little horse poop emojis.
Oh, they came out cute in there.
Yeah, they did.
I may repeat that last line. Well, Kaylee did some. Yeah, I'm going to redo that because it's not really time zone name. It's. Oops. Well, Kaylee did some searching online for me for a better list, and she actually found one that worked. It was released as open source on GitHub by someone who goes by the name NodeSocket. Here's what was good about the NodeSocket list. It had the name of the time zone, such as GMT -3, followed by a handful of names for that time zone. But it was still harder than I thought. The pretty list would only work for the visuals of the dropdown. I would need to map those chosen time zones in the dropdown to a real city name in the official time zone library. I had to select a city name in a zone from the pretty list and then do a search in the official time zone library and see if I had a match. For example, for GMT -12, it said Inuak and Kwajalein. Anybody know where the heck those cities are? Me neither. To get the time zone library to understand the time the user wanted, I needed something like a continent or a region followed by a slash and the real city name in quotes. So I had to copy Inuitak, I don't know how to say that, Inuitak from this fancy new list and see if it was anywhere in that 493 line long list. Nope. Look again. Copy Kwajalein from the pretty list. Check the official list, and it was there. Great. One time zone mapping done. Rinse and repeat 23 more times to get every time zone. While this was tedious work, I only needed to find any city match from one list to the other, and then my time zone library would work out the rest. Sometimes, though, none of the city names in the pretty list had a match in the time zone library. I had to use some more rigorous methods. I actually had to paste the name of a city from the pretty list into a maps application to figure out where it was and see if I could find a city nearby that would be in the same time zone. That made each time zone its own little adventure game. As I worked my way through the time zone in the pretty list, I noticed that the city of Caracas was listed under two different offsets. It was in GMT -4 and GMT -430. I know I whine a lot about time zones and such, but I don't care who you are. That's bananas, right? Or a mistake. Well, if you ask the internet what time it is in a city, you'll find that about 238,427 different websites are available to try and untangle the mystery of time for you. I searched for the answer of what time is it in Caracas? I got 2 hits, and I thought they were particularly interesting. Timeanddate.com said it was 5:08 p.m., while thetimenow.com said it was 4:38 p.m., off by a half an hour. That's pretty curious. I mentioned this curiosity to Kaylee, and she found an article from 2016 on timeanddate.com that may explain the confusion. The article said, quote, in late 2007, President Hugo Chavez moved Venezuela's time zone 30 minutes backwards to UTC -430, putting all of the country in a half-hour time zone. The change was perceived as a political statement by Chavez, and when Venezuela changes its time in May, remember this is a 2007 article, or I'm sorry, 2016 article, when it changes its time in May, there will be no other locations in this UTC offset. Now, I'm not 100% sure how the person making the pretty list knew that Venezuela had moved back to on the hour, but also forgot to remove Caracas from the half-hour offset. I decided to go with on the hour for Caracas for my web app, and I hope you're okay with that. By the way, half-hour time zone offsets aren't that unusual. I don't know how to pronounce this at all. Taiohae, an island out in the South Pacific, is on the half hour, along with 8 other regions, and the entire country of India is on a half hour. Found that one out when we visited there a few years ago. But my favorites are the ones that are off by 45 minutes. I mean, really, you have to hate people to do something like that. Kathmandu in Nepal, where we also visited, Eucla in Australia, and the wee little Chatham Islands out in the Pacific off of New Zealand also enjoy 45-minute offsets. I cannot imagine having to do time math living there. There's one more abnormality to this whole thing. I cannot show you what time it is in one specific time zone. That time zone is called Mid-Atlantic, and it's GMT -2. My node socket list says simply Mid-Atlantic with no cities. I didn't immediately give up on GMT -2, though. I did some sleuthing. If we go back to our friend timeanddate.com, which has a swell map showing time zones and red dots for cities, you can see a couple of red dots out in GMT -2. If you hover over the dots, you can find out the names of the cities, like Ponta Delgada, way out in the Atlantic, 900 miles off the coast of Portugal. Fun fact to know and tell, it's the capital city of the Azores. But guess what? They've decided they don't want to be in that lonely GMT -2. They went with plain old GMT with no offset, even though they're nowhere near in line with GMT. I don't know, maybe it's because Portugal owns them. Back to GMT -2, we've also got Praia, the capital city of the island country Cabo Verde, sitting right there, ready to claim ownership of this lonely time zone. But for no reason I could find, they're on GMT -1 instead of GMT -2. And then I finally found one tiny little spot called King Edward Point on South Georgia Island in the South Sandwich Islands, which is actually in GMT -2. But here's the problem. If it's not acknowledged in the time zones library, then I can't access it. I was thinking I might write a little error check that says if someone picks GMT -2, then hardwire in King Edward Point as being 1 hour ahead or behind the closest time zone. I'd have to put an asterisk all over it because who on earth knows if they honor daylight saving time? Now, here's a questionable fact about this place. The only town I could find on South Georgia Island is called, here's another tough one to pronounce, Gritaviken. It's an abandoned whaling village. It no longer has any permanent residents. But if you zoom in on it on Google Maps, it shows it has a Starbucks and a McDonald's. Why do I suspect someone is having fun with Google on this one? Well, after I wrote up this glorious solution, I published the blog post and I spammed Twitter, our Facebook group, and our Slack community at podfeet.com/Slack. I was exhausted but happy with a relatively simple dropdown that gave valuable information to the user in a concise list. I'm really glad I published these blog posts before I talk about them on the podcast with my discoveries, because it's very hard to fix a podcast. Nuclear John and our Slack community said, for some reason, Central and Eastern time in your clock are reporting the same time. I checked his screenshots and I was able to replicate this error myself. I'm sure many of you have been hollering into your devices at the complete and utterly obvious flaw in the path I took to simplify the list. I took one city in each time zone and I made it the definitive source of the time. But it turns out that Lima, the city I chose for Eastern, doesn't observe daylight saving time at the same time as other GMT -5 cities. My entire logic was completely flawed. The time I was showing in Lima was correct for Lima, but it was not correct for US cities in the same GMT offset. Well, the only way to do this right is to show you all of the cities in every time zone, or to choose for you which cities you're allowed to query and have no general assumptions to be made. I went back to the library. I had it spit out all of the cities, and I actually used Excel to format the data. I know, I should have used regular expressions, but I know how to do multiple modifications at once in Excel. I pulled in the data to a single column. I used text to columns to get just the bit I wanted. Then I added columns with the common information for each element, like comma, space, quote, name, quote, comma. And then I concatenated the city names and the GMT offset columns with the other formatting stuff. Of course, then I had to do a copy paste special and only keep the values so that it was strings and not formulas. From there, I exported it as a comma separated value CSV file, and I was able to make it into a nice JSON file by adding the square brackets around all the data to make it an array. Totally easy, right? Then I noticed that the official list had a whole bunch of entries that said etc/GMT, etc/GMT plus 0, etc/GMT 0, etc/GMT plus 0 again. It went on and on and on like that. I deleted all of those because I figured the list was long enough. When I was finished, remember I said 493? Now it's 539 cities, sorted by GMT offset. I do hope you appreciate the exhaustive lengths I've gone to in order to ensure the veracity of the data behind my clock web app and to bring you a list that makes sense and at least is easy to scroll through to find the time zone you seek. I would also like to point out that I love Jill's. It is Jill. Okay. I was afraid I was going to make it. Now I'm going to be afraid I'm making a mistake every time I say your name, Jill. I would also like to point out that I think it's ironic that I said that I love Jill's articles because she doesn't drone on and on and on about one topic. But hey, it's my show. I can do it any way I want. Anyway, now that I have this thing finally done, my clock gives the right time in all the time zones. I'm really sad that the list is kind of a lie. If you choose GMT -8 from my list, you will find the time in Los Angeles. But right now, we're not at GMT -8. We're at GMT -7 because of daylight saving time. Some places aren't daylight saving time right now, so their GMT offsets might be right. I know there's not an easier way to show this, but it still feels like I'm misleading the people looking at it. Everyone I've shown it to says I shouldn't worry about it because everyone does it, but it still bothers me. I got to tell you, I'm having a ball writing this web app, and if you'd like to watch it as I'm working on it, I put a link in the show notes to it over on glitch.me. If you want to watch something really entertaining, please watch the YouTube video Nuclear John posted, and I've got a link to that in the show notes too. It's called The Problem with Time and Time Zones by Computer File. It is an absolutely hysterical and completely accurate explanation of the madness that is working with time and time zones. Okay, there are 2 big typos in that. Time is weird. I said GMT -9 in the show notes. Let's see, that should be an 8. And there's an E missing in time. Okay, but we're not done talking about time. Did anybody look
You've
up that?
got to be kidding.
But it's going to be Alistair talking, so it's hilarious.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go.
So Marty found the McDonald's at that weird island.
Is that what shows for?
Apparently, Street
Am I
View.
right though? It does say there's a McDonald's there, doesn't it?
And Kevin had to take a painkiller after hearing all of this.
Oh, there you got the Starbucks and the McDonald's. So I didn't make that up, right? 3 + 2 is 5. Yeah, that was a
Wow.
that's pretty funny. Yeah, really. I think I need to let's see. I'm going to try to wing it, see if I can do it. There isn't really a blog post, so I'm just going to keep going with this.
This is a thing that Alistair did?
Alistair did, yeah.
And it's called Google Notifier iPhone without data plan?
No. I'm just going to go. You don't need to do anything extra on this. All right. Well, I've got one more thing about this time zone thing. When I was working on the time zone nonsense in my clock, and while I was writing up that article, I was talking to Alistair Jenks in New Zealand on Telegram. I mentioned that my earliest memory of him contributing to the show was when he did an article about time zones for the NosillaCastaways. It was about 100 years ago. I distinctly remembered listening to it while we were driving around in Hawaii. The best part of this explanation of time zones is that Alistair is... Oh, no, that is what I wanted to say. Shoot. The best part about this recording that Alistair made back then was that Alistair was 100% sincere that he thinks it's making it easy to do time zone changes in your head. And I got to tell you, I remember us driving along and I was just laughing hysterically because the longer he went on, the more insane it sounded. Well, remember I said that I've been complaining about these time zones and things since 2009? That was when he sent this article. Anyway, thanks to the magic of search in Gmail, he was able to find the article and his original recording from August of 2009. And Alistair and I thought it would be really fun to play it back to you right now. Now, perhaps you're going to be on his side and think, wow, it's so simple the way he explains it. Or perhaps you'll be like me, thinking he must be joking. All right. I might save. I've got a tiny tip. I may save it. Because now that I've got Alistair in here, this is going to be a really long show. You want to hear a little bit of Alistair?
Oh, yeah. But I didn't see the tiny tip.
It's in the show notes after this.
Oh. All right.
Do you see Alistair Explains Time Zones? It's about accessing the downloads folder. I think I'll save it.
There it is.
It's short. Perhaps you'll be like me, thinking he must be joking.
Hi, Alison.
Actually, I'm gonna cut him a little bit there. Split. Oh, I better put a chapter mark in.
Good idea.
I'm gonna. It's a rerun from August of 2009, but that's back. So the link I have is an entire entire NosillaCast.
Mm-hmm.
He must be joking.
Hi, Alison. Alistair here from New Zealand. I've noticed in a few recent episodes of NosillaCast that you and others have had a little trouble with time zones, so I'd like to offer you some advice on how to deal with them easily. While most people understand what time zones are and why they exist, many people have a lot of trouble working with them. I know because I used to be one of them. Many transport missions around the globe for the Royal New Zealand Air Force, a job which demanded mastery of time zones, as some airports closed down overnight, and if you arrived an hour early, you had nowhere to land. He taught me the easy way to deal with time zones. Most people try to work out the difference between their own time zone and another. If you only deal with one other time zone, that's not too hard. If you start to deal with two or more, it gets confusing real fast. The trick is to always work through GMT. Let's ignore daylight saving time for now. It's a complication we will add back in at the end. Here in Wellington, New Zealand, our
Okay, what day is
Let's
this?
just ignore it.
Oh my God. As he gets going at the end, he's converting 4 different cities at the same time and trying to say how he has simplified it. Because he's saying, just keep track of the differences between the two. And he's talking about like, well, it's midnight in New Zealand on the 23rd, and it's the day after tomorrow or the day before yesterday in Los Angeles and in New York. And anyway, I thought it was really funny. All right. So
no excuses for those 2 a.m. phone calls.
yeah, so totally simplified it. You're talking to somebody who can't subtract if there's an 8 in it, and you're talking about the day after tomorrow in another state or another country. Anyway, I appreciate your efforts, Alistair, and I'm sure you're completely sincere that it's easy for you, but it's not easy for me. Well, if you've been listening for any length of time, you know that this show is not sponsored by advertising. It's sponsored by you through weekly pledges of Patreon and one-off donations through PayPal. A massive percentage of people don't have disposable incomes right now. And I 100% understand that and don't want you to feel bad at all if you can't help out. In fact, you may have disposable income right now, but are making the choice to support your local food bank. And I 1000% support that as well. And then there's some people like April Mendez who heard about Amazon dropping my affiliate status and decided to double her pledge on Patreon. It's been heartwarming to hear the support from many of you about Amazon, but I'm not mad at them and I don't hold any hard feelings. They've done a lot of stuff to actually reduce the advertising and the affiliate prices that they're paying too. So something else is going on here, I think. I still love Amazon. A little disappointed, but it's fine. Anyway, April is a rock star, as are all of you who contribute by going to podfeet.com/Patreon or podfeet.com/PayPal and donate what you can to help pay the bills around here. Hey, look at the good news. With conventions being called off right and left, my costs are going to go down quite a bit, so it's not that big of a deal.
That's
right,
right. There, no NAB, no Mac stock.
No Mac stock. Oh, I'm heartbroken about that one. Okay, I wrote.
Hopefully, we're up
Amazon
again by the next CES.
I don't know. A couple of the companies have said 2021 they're not going to be doing them either. They're already not.
Has CES
you can't do CS remotely.
Yeah.
I talked Jill into buying tickets like 8 minutes before the
no,
before it everything hit the fan. I can't believe we don't get to go in 2021 either. I think Mike should move the date just for me.
That one for people who.
Yeah, so we had a trip to Iceland planned, and it got canceled, and of course, MacStock got canceled, and the only way we could not lose thousands of dollars was by rebooking for 2021 for Iceland. They moved Iceland just a wee bit later in the year, and Mike moved MacStock up a tiny bit earlier in the year, and now they overlap, and we can't go to Iceland. I mean, to MacStock.
It was a tough call, though.
Yeah, I had told Steve the day before, the ones I'm saddest about was canceling my family vacation where we're going to go to Mammoth for a week with all the kids. Second worst was MacStock, and the third worst was Iceland. And I said I would pick MacStock over Iceland in a heartbeat, and now I don't get to go to MacStock.
Except for the big outlay.
Oh, Jason, you weren't going to be able to go anyway? Well, everybody write to Mike and tell him to move the date just for me, okay?
I'm sure he will.
Well, he said he did what? It hadn't gotten a guarantee on the new dates yet.
Oh, he doesn't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, interesting.
So I told him I hope he can't get it.
Is that a hotel type of thing, or the McHenry?
The venue.
The venue, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm dropping in Bart now.
Don't drop Bart.
Well, I have to.
Sakes. Let's see what you're doing over there. Whoops.
Dropping in 4.
Uh-oh. It froze. Hold on. You there? Allison. Shoot. I think I lost Allison. Al? Frozen. Oh, your Mac shut down. Allison's Mac shut down. Shoot. How did that happen? Hold on. I will be back. Okay, folks, let me get me up there. So Allison's computer just, for some reason, crashed. She's going to try and get in on Discord. So let me turn my Discord audio back on. But we may end up ending the show a little bit early. Bear with. Oh, there you are. I hear you. So let me just explain something to the YouTube folks. So if you're on YouTube, you won't be hearing Allison right now. She's only talking on Discord. So we probably should end the YouTube video. What do you think, Al? Okay. All right. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Bye-bye. Good night.